Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another weekly edition of the Endurance Nation Coach broadcast here, checking in. Super chilly Rhode Island, trying a little black background today for those of you checking things out on Facebook or YouTube. Um, and today's topic that I'm going to dive into a little bit is about early season volume, and specifically the early season volume investment. We work with age group athletes just like you who've got lives, jobs, other commitments. What that does is really sort of compressionizes what your volume training abilities are. And when we think about how to take advantage of the fact that you've compromised elsewhere to make sure that like life and work and everything else is a priority, oftentimes athletes just sort of follow the path that lies ahead of them, and they're just checking off boxes. Checking off boxes is great if you want to be a box checker, if you just want to be able to do the ordinary. But I'm presuming that you're here and you watch these episodes because you're trying to do something extraordinary with your fitness. You're trying to go beyond. You've run a half marathon, you want to run a marathon. You run a marathon, you want to run a 50K. You run a 50K, you want to go 100K or a 100 miler or whatever that may be. And all of those elements of progression require that you think outside the box. So in today's episode, I'll be talking a little bit about the early season volume investment, why it's strategically important for you and for any endurance athlete, and then how we can move forward from there. All right. This episode, obviously, sorry for my stomach disruption there, brought to you by pistachios, which is my favorite food. And I'm a little addicted to them right now for sure. So sponsors out there, hook me up with some pistachios, but not too many, please. Not too many. All right. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the resistance, because there's always resistance to volume, particularly the athletes that we deal with inside of nutrition. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of them live on what's called a fixed schedule for training. What does a fixed schedule mean? Fixed schedule means you only have a certain amount of time on a daily basis or even a weekly basis to be able to execute your training. Now that fixed schedule, it'll evolve across the course of a year. Winter time, obviously, we have other demands, other perhaps hobbies or commitments that we make. Whereas in season, when it's warmer and we're doing more racing, the ratio changes a bit, but not by much. Someone can do 10 hours a week of training in the winter, which is a fair amount, right? That may turn into 15 hours at its peak in season, right? If you're doing 15 hours, maybe you get 5 more hours, maybe you get 20 hours at your peak. But all of these elements are correlated, and the difference between regular sort of fixed schedule opportunities and then sort of fixed schedule plus opportunities is usually only a few hours, just kind of a small swing element of volume. And so what that means is athletes who are looking to do longer races, races that transcend a 10-hour block of time. If you're trying to do an Ironman and you're only training 10 hours a week, even in the context of 7 days, you'll never really get to the total amount of time that you're going to be spending in a single day and a single effort for your race. And that brings lots of other challenges. I mean, you've got to really be awesome with equipment. You've got to be awesome with core strength. You've got to be awesome with nutrition. You have to be fantastic with execution. You have to get everything else right, because the fact that you're on this fixed schedule means you don't have the opportunity to build a great deal of sort of durability and familiarity with those longer sessions. But that's where the opportunity is, and that's what this early season volume investment means. Um, Early season volume investment essentially means let's budget our time accordingly at a time of year when we don't have races on our schedule, we don't have travel, a little bit more flexibility in terms of what we're trying to do. We can allocate time such that we can batch some time together and create small blocks of volume. Inside Endurance Nation, this could be anything from a monthly undertaking for some people. Some people do it once a week. It all depends on your goals and your correlation, but it's essentially taking a look at your time and just redistributing it. So if you said you had 14 hours a week to train, I chose that number for math purposes, then you could do 2 hours a day, done. But you could also do, 1 hour a day, Monday through Friday, and then do, I don't know, that gets you 5 hours and you're doing 14, right? So we do another, say, 5 hours on Saturday and 4 hours on Sunday. That's 9 hours in a weekend. That's a pretty good little volume pop there. And it's keeping you to your 14 hours total time. It's giving you more flexibility during the week. Do more stuff during the week. Do other things. Do work. Help out. Be bonus. Be awesome. But on the weekend, we're really sort of taking a lot of time, a lot of oxygen out of the schedule and putting it, investing it directly into that training. Right? Okay. So the second piece of today's talk, but doesn't adding volume break the rules? The whole reason I'm on this fixed schedule is that I want to stay to this schedule, and I'm on a program that's going to use intensity to make me stronger. And Endurance Nation talks a great deal about that. And I can do quality over quantity, and so that's going to help me out as well. So, what's with this whole volume piece? Well, at the end of the day, Endurance Nation and anyone else who sort of practices that quality over quantity piece, at the end of the day, there's no under sort of there's no way around the fact that the event itself has a set of specific demands. You're trying to go for 10 hours at a go, 20 hours at a go. You're doing a 24-hour race. You're doing back to back. You're doing some sort of like Disney goofy combination that's got 4 events in 4 days. There's a total amount of stress associated with an endurance event on your body that's going to happen at a certain level of intensity over a certain amount of time, right? Intensity times time that gives us our stress. You think about that equation, volume becomes simply part of the math. Now, a fixed schedule productivity and the opportunity to build fitness inside Endurance Nation means they get fast before we go far. All of that works well. However, it's not meant to completely preclude the need for volume. Listen, if we'd solve the way that people can only train 10 hours a week and be able to do an ultra marathon, believe me, there'd be a lot of people doing 10 hours a week out there because the real training for the longer events is challenging. So instead, what we offer you is this. Yes, you can use the quality over quantity metric as an opportunity to maintain fitness, grow specific, verticals of fitness, and then apply that to the endurance that we would normally be doing in season. So early season is simply a corollary to that. And it's really important corollary because of the investment factor of what I was mentioning earlier. The investment matters simply because doing it early in the season gives you the opportunity to hopefully sort of break out of the mold of your typical training, try something different. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. It gives you an opportunity to raise the sort of the whole level, right, of your fitness. So if you're starting at sort of a level 5 out of 10 and you want to get to 10, then you've got 5 steps to go in the course of the season. If with some volume strategically implemented in your season, we can go from a 5 to a 6 or 5 to a 6.5, that reduces the amount of stress to get to level 10, and maybe even means you can get to 11 or level 12. In other words, that general aerobic fitness is the foundation upon which we're operating. Quality over quantity lets you do good work for longer amounts of time, keeping you healthier, saner, well balanced as an athlete, sort of giving you that lifelong trajectory for excellence that's important. But in terms of the specificity for your season, early season volume still matters. Okay. Those are the 3 reasons why that early season investment matters. Let's talk a little bit about 3 specific options that you have for your early season volume investment. You can choose the one that you want, and you can always follow up in the comments on socials or inside the team. You can always set up a message. Happy to talk with you through it. Always, interested in sort of figuring out how to toggle these recommendations for individual athletes. It's always super fun. And inside the team, obviously, you can talk to your teammates who've done this before and get some specs from them, or just go to the same place they went, do follow the same routine they did, like super easy blueprint action for you right there inside the team. All right. So the key parameters before early season volume investment are important. So now I just want to cover these super briefly because some people mess this up. All right. Number one, keep it focused. What's your goal? What's your mission? Do you want to get X amount of time in a certain time? Do you want to get X amount of time in a certain location, X amount of time in a certain discipline? Know what it is you're trying to achieve and write that down. That's your immutable thing. So if you go out and say, I'm going to get away this weekend and I'm going to just go do all this trail running. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to trail run for like 8 hours. And then you plan 4 hours each day, but the first day took you 6 hours. And so you're like, yikes, I plan on 8 hours for this weekend. And tomorrow you sort of had this 4 hour long run planned. That would be 10 hours for the weekend. Should you do it? The answer is no. Early season, we want to really stick to our overall goals and progression. So write that progression out, have that plan, know what it is you want to achieve, and then really stick to that early season. Overreaching with the volume early in the season can be challenging. We want volume, but we don't want to go crazy with it, right? The second part, keep it easy. Early season volume is meant to be easy. We don't have peak fitness right now, so it's just more of like an exploratory vibe. Go check out some new routes, check out some new places. Run your usual loop backwards. Get out a fat bike and ride a fat bike instead of your indoor bike. Go rent one, right? Do something just totally different than what you've normally done. We want to keep it easy and aerobic, but we just want to keep you moving. So we're really looking for total moving time here inside the space, right? And then also we want to make it fun. So do it with other people, create a challenge for yourself, something you haven't done before, undertake a new challenge. Maybe you want to do like a mini backyard ultra. So you're going to do a 50K run in your backyard, but to alleviate the stress, you're going to do it in increments. Give yourself some breaks in between, 5Ks. You can do 10 by 5K, with like 2 hours between each one, and then some at night, some in the morning, and mix it up. That gives you an opportunity to do that block of work, really get all that fitness in, but do it in a way that's still unique. Maybe you can check in on social media. You can check with your friends, invite some friends over to run like a midnight 5K with you. You could just kind of go a little different with it and still keep the interest level high. As we move into the season, endurance athletes, even if they're just doing something for fun, when the event looms, they just start to become more serious. And there's another level of stress associated with that internal pressure piece. So we want to keep it fun because at some point in time, doing this work feels like work just naturally, at some point in time during the season. And the stress can mount. So no need to start that early in the year by any means. Keep it fun, right? Okay, so our three things for you to try as we dive into early season strategic volume investment. Number one, the home version. This just takes advantage of your whole home setup. Pros for this are it's easy. You don't have to travel. Everything's here. Cons, well, everyone else is also here. They can come and get you. They can move you. They can adjust you. Um, things can kind of get in the way. Sort of like having a work from home situation, which is great because you don't have to commute. But because we're challenging because you're doing all these other things around the house, so you're eating a ton out of the pantry, or kids are bothering you, or neighbors are stopping by, or the UPS person needs a signature, or whatever it is, and all of a sudden it becomes a little bit harder to do your thing. But it can be easy if you do set up the structure and expectations properly. So if you have a good home setup, an indoor cycling setup like Swift, right, or a treadmill, maybe you can go to a gym for a treadmill. Maybe you have other like strength or cardiovascular equipment around the house. Take a look at everything you have, and we can use that as your totality. And really, it's less so about the total volume you're going to be doing. It's more so about setting the conditions that you can do that work and do it without being disruptive to your family, or other way around being disrupted as well. With the home version, you have flexibility to do things whenever you want. So some people will take advantage of holiday weekends to get extra time in. Some people will just stick to the weekends. Maybe they'll take a day off on a Friday and kind of juggle it to get extra time in if they need to, but it's pretty straightforward. Okay. The second option here, travel version. This is the fun version, but of course costs money. It says, hey, it's the winter time. I don't normally travel now, and traveling would be nice. It'd be nice to go somewhere warmer or somewhere different. So, if I have some money saved up, I can go somewhere and do some training in a warmer location. For me, I've gone to Florida in the past, I've gone to Texas in the past. It's an opportunity to kind of go out and explore a new part of the country, new routes, new opportunities. Hopefully, change of environment also brings change of clothing. You can wear short sleeve t-shirts instead of like 16 t-shirts, less gloves, like more sunscreen. That would be nice. And it gives you an opportunity to kind of get out of the normal routine. That said, not only is it expensive, it's logistically challenging. Like you got to get your stuff to the place. You've got to organize how you're going to get access to all the things, and you're not familiar with it. So even just go to the supermarket when you're on the road, it's harder because you don't know the supermarket. It takes you twice as long to shop as it would at home. So you want to sort of evaluate all those consequences and make sure you can invest the time. Just how important is a change of venue for you? So sometimes when I'm doing bigger races, like when I was doing Ironman Arizona 2019, I needed a big block. I needed like 4 or 5 days. So I invested the time to go to Texas, Woodlands, Texas in early November, which is still warm. I was able to put in a good block of training down there, which is sort of my peak week, and allowed me to sort of enter that final race with confidence. And I needed the change of venue and everything to kind of get it done, take some time off from work, go out there and do it, right? Those are the days. All right. The third volume, the remix version. And this is the most fun and a little more unique, but it does really require, we talk about outside the box. This is outside the outside of the box, way outside. This is saying, all right, look, I've got a bicycle trainer here, but I can't ride that thing for the amount of time I need to be active. So what are all the other things that I can do? This is where we get to be creative, right? You can go to your local gym or get time at a local gym, take a spin class, hit the treadmill, take another spin class, hit the elliptical, maybe you jog to the gym and then jog home from that again. You rode your bike an hour before and you ride your bike an hour after. That's like a 6 or 7 hour day of adventure that you sort of had to plan out. And it's kind of neat to have those logistical steps. If you have like a winter training set of options, then maybe it's sometime inside and then sometime outside, cross country skiing, skate skiing, downhill skiing. Maybe you've got other venues available to you depending on where you live. Maybe there's great hiking trails nearby you, so you can kind of put on a weighted pack, like a 25-pound weight or similar, appropriate for you. Put it in a nice backpack. Make sure it's not too heavy or uncomfortable. Get it nice and snug. Go hike for a couple hours and then come back and do something different. You can do weight circuits as well. We can do any manner of activity. The goal here is to just compress that time such that we're doing it for several hours relative to whatever your goals may be and wherever your fitness is right now. A remix version can be super fun because you can really include other people. I've done this before. I've done like circuits, but I'm like, hey, kids, they like to do like videos of fitness and stuff like that. So I'm like, great, let's do that core video that you have that you always do. It's 30 minutes. Let's do that at like 2 o'clock today. I'll meet you in the basement. We get off the bike and clean up and come in there and do that core. And then I'm gonna go do something else and we'll come back and then we'll go to the beach and like play with the dogs, and then we'll come back and then we'll, go walk to town for dinner, and really sort of mix it up so we're being super active this whole time, tracking those steps, tracking the active time, understanding that it doesn't have to be as rigid. That's a great entry point. The remix version is a great entry point for people who are just getting into the volume game and are looking to be active and challenge themselves, but not be so locked in. Those of us who've been endurance athletes for a long time, sometimes, I say to you, go ride your bike for 5 hours. You're like, okay, you know what to do. You know what you need. You've done it before. It's not foreign. You're ready for the challenges that pop up, etc. For other people, you say that and they're just like, oh my God, I can't hear what you're saying. Please go away. And they're not ready for that. So use it as an incremental tool as well. Okay. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you're thinking about the early season volume. If you're early season volume investment curious, hit us up on the socials wherever you see this message, this video, or obviously inside the team. Is send me a DM. I'm happy to talk through it with you. I want to make sure that you're taking advantage of all the opportunities to build a fitness that's going to make the biggest difference for you moving forward. All right. Thanks. Take care, everyone. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you next time.